Welcome to the Human Advantage podcast, where culture is created, not claimed. We've been talking about culture for years, but most companies still reduce people to check boxes that are supposed to define an entire human being. We hire for familiarity, we reward sameness, and then wonder why teams struggle. The problem isn't talent, it's the system. And this podcast is about changing that. Diversity beyond checkboxes, culture add over culture fit, and how people think is the real differentiator. Because people aren't categories, they're the advantage.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Human Advantage podcast. We got the whole crew today. We got myself, Adam Kleckner, Tia Kleckner, Devin Walker, all hosting, and we got a super fun guest for everybody today, Norris Frederick. Norris is a three-time U.S. bronze medalist, former professional track and field athlete, turned speaker, filmmaker, entrepreneur, does a little bit of everything these days. After competing at the highest level, Norris has taken the pressure and mindset of sport and turned it into a new chapter built around storytelling, creativity, and human connection. Today, he creates work that makes people feel something while speaking openly about identity, reinvention, and what it takes to keep building when you're still in the middle of the journey. Welcome, buddy. Excited to have you.
And I appreciate that.
That's great.
Appreciate the opportunity, man. I thank you. Thank you guys, man.
I should have added in there. I think you're still, too, the most decorated athlete in Washington State history, right? I left that little nugget out of your bio.
You got to keep that on the DL, man. I got people looking for me, man.
No. We'll keep it quiet. We'll keep it quiet for sure. Well, yeah. You know, what I think a lot of people don't realize that listen to this is Devin and I had a former life, man, and back in the day we were in the fitness world, owning gyms, and we were lucky enough to train you some leading up to the Olympics, man. So it's kind of fun to get you on this side of the coin these days.
Hey,
Yeah, it's like a full circle moment.
it is. It's different for sure, but I think it's very necessary. I think you guys met me at a time of my life where, like, the goal setting aspect and then running after a dream was just like the only thing that was right in front of me. And now that that's kind of over and slowed down, like, working alongside you guys at the other gyms that we were at prepared me for the life that I'm in now. So, it's definitely opened my eyes to a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, it's been fun to see your transition, man. But let's back it up a little for the audience that doesn't know you or know about you yet. Give them a little background about you growing up, man. What originally got you into track and field? Give a little journey up into that professional world. I mentioned three-time bronze medalist, but I didn't tell everybody you're a long jumper. So tell everybody what led into that world.
Yeah, so I started off as a basketball player. There was this weird situation where I could jump higher than most of the people around me, and I didn't think anything of it. I ended up winning, or I got second place. Sorry, I got second place in a college dunk or a high school dunk contest in 8th grade. And since then, I was always able to play on the varsity level or play up a level. And when I got to high school, my sophomore year, I was hanging out with some of the old upperclassmen, and they wanted to go to the grocery store to grab some food before one of the games, and we ended up being about 5 minutes late for the bus. And the punishment was we had to sit out the first half, and then we also had to do a spring sport or morning conditioning with the basketball coach. And I mean, he was my math teacher, my basketball coach. I spent too much time with that dude. So I was like, I'm going out for a and it was weird because, being in 10th grade at that time, I thought track athletes and cross country people, I thought they were weird, man. I thought they were weird.
Well,
I mean,
it's running around still a little weird,
I was
right?
a track athlete in high school. Come on.
But it's a little bit weird though. We eat weird. We wear the whole ensemble is just okay.
Okay.
It was one of those sports where people never got cut. So you'd have a team of 130 people running around aimlessly. And I really didn't want to be associated with that. So I told the coach, in 10th grade, he said, does anybody else, this was the first day of practice, does anybody else have anything they want to say? So I stood up and I said, hey, since I'm here, I'm going to win the state championship in the high jump. And everybody looked at me like, kind of out of my zone. And I was like, no, but in my head, like I'm verbalizing this because I knew that high school kids would hold me accountable, right? After every single track meet, they'd be like, well, you didn't win, or, oh, you didn't do this. So the coach pulled me aside and was like, this isn't basketball, right? Like, you don't have four other teammates out here that are going to like help you not look bad if things go bad. And this is like brute, honest, hard work. And I was like, got it. Mind you, I had never in my entire existence ran track, jumped track, competed track. I didn't even know we had a track team until 10th grade. And I came from a summer or a spring league basketball game. And I remember the first meet of the season, I was out there in basketball shoes. I had a track jersey, but I had basketball shorts on. And I ended up jumping 6 feet 4 inches in the high jump. And I was leading the state by like 4 inches after that one competition. And then, like the coach comes and was like, Norris, man, I think you can win the state championship. And in my head, I'm like, bro, I've already told you that. Like, I already got
told you. Yeah.
But I had a really good high school career. I won 5 state championships in 3 years. I was the Washington State Athlete of the Year, the Nike Athlete of the Year, the Adidas Athlete of the Year, Gatorade Athlete of the Year. I was the only person at the time in American history at that age to qualify for the long and high jump at a world championship meet where I placed 7th and 11th in the world at 17. I was on the Nike watch list. I was on the Olympic development list. I was on like all these phenomenal things. And I really didn't understand like how prestige that was. I committed to the University of Washington and had another great career there. But yeah, I mean, track and field, had I not gotten in trouble for wanting to get something to eat, I don't think I would have ever found it.
It being late, like normal, being late, typical. So,
a little bit late. I was a little bit late.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
It definitely opened my eyes to what the world around me was, because track and field is one of those sports, for those who have competed in it or participated, you don't have a lot of time for preparation. Like for long jump and high jump, you get 30 seconds to meet your destiny, right? And then oftentimes, an Olympic cycle is more than 1,400 days to perform for 30 minutes. So for the longest time, I competed professionally for 13 years. And like for those 13 years, my entire life was compared in feet and inches. So it was those nights got daunting, when you weren't competing at the level you wanted to, or if you were hurt or just had a bad competition, it lived, and it affected everything around you. So
I think the thing about track, man, that's so crazy with you guys. It's always boggled my mind, like getting into that world and training you and stuff, is your whole world comes down to 30 seconds, 3 jumps, right? 4 jumps. And it's like you've spent me playing football in college, like dude, we had 16 games, 15 games that we lost one. It's no big deal. You move on to the next one, you figure it out, you readjust. Your world's like, now, dude, you're 4 years for 3 jumps. Like that type of pressure has always been insane to me on the way the track world works that way.
Well, I think to your point, Adam, when I was training with you, I don't know if you ever remember this, but you were like, what do you do when you leave here? And I said, I go home. And when I was at home, all the lights were out. The only thing I would do was watch YouTube videos of other long jumpers until night fell. And then at night, I would stare at the ceiling and just reiterate what happened throughout practice, what happened throughout my day, how I could be better. And then you were like, yeah, you're depressed. And I was like, no, I'm focused. And you were like, no, you're depressed. And you need to get up and do something. So like every morning before I, either went to practice with you or went to practice at the college, I would walk Green Lake just for like human connection. But I think a lot of athletes at that level confuse focus with depression. And I didn't know the difference.
Yeah.
Until you pointed that out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's tough because, like, to compete at that level, I don't want to say you kind of have to have a little bit of a screw loose, but, like, that's your whole life. And you know that someone's going to be working just as hard or harder if you take a break. So, like, emotionally, that's tough.
Well, I'm glad you said that, Devin, because when I was living in San Diego at the Olympic Training Center, I was ranked number 2 in the world in the long jump, in the men's long jump. And my roommate, like we shared a room as 20-something-year-olds, was ranked 3rd in the world. So there would be times where throughout the season, he would need to eat every 3 hours. So he would set an alarm, wake up, have a protein bar, an apple with peanut butter, something, and then he would do an ab circuit. So, like, I'm thinking to myself, like, I can't let him get the extra work in. So, like, I would get up with him and hit the ab circuit, and out of the corner of our eyes, we would look to see who would stop first. Because the harsh reality of it is like any competition, this dude can knock me off this podium, and then now I got to drive back or I got to fly back living with the fact that my literal roommate either took money from my contract, took my medal, and kicked me out of different opportunities. So psychologically, yeah, you just don't sleep. You don't.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say it as a former thrower in college. Eating 3 hours seems pretty good. I think he's onto something. Like, he gets it.
Devin's like, wait a minute.
Yeah, I mean, this guy got it going on.
It was a tough pill to swallow. I mean,
Yeah.
you just forget that there's like normalcy. You don't know what it looks like, but you just forget that there's normalcy out there.
Yeah,
Well, that was your normalcy.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this is going to be a little bit of changing gears here because, like, I think people understand, like, you're a great athlete, but making that switch post, like, your professional career and switching it up, like, how did that affect you internally or emotionally? Because we've seen it, you going from athlete and then us working on off. But, like, how did that emotional shift change you?
With that identity too, right? I mean, total identity shift, 100%.
It was probably one of the more confusing times of my life because everything went from so much structure and running at 100 miles an hour to like, it felt like things stopped, like literally stopped. Because there's nothing in a sports contract that's like, 4 to 6 weeks, we'll get back to you.
Yeah.
And like, I've stepped into a world where like, that's all that there is. This project should be done in 4 months. And you're like, are you sure? Because I can get this done tonight if you really need me to.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
Yeah. But like even, at that gym that the 3 of us were at, like the conversation, like arguing about what calendar we're going to use. And I'm thinking to myself, like, is this an actual issue? Like in the world that people deal with? Like what calendar? Like this isn't even an outpacing problem. Like I'm not walking past being like, oh, dude, they don't have their calendar together. So everything in my world was just like, it was a 180 switch. And like, I think a lot of people confuse, and I'm going to use air quotes, the level of success that I've had with just the motivation to be the best version of me every single day. Because like, I mean, that doesn't leave being an athlete. Like it sticks with you. So like, even like we shot a wedding a few months ago and the lady was like, what are you thinking? Like, are we going to get this video back in 2 weeks? Like, you'll get it back tonight. Because I don't want the homework.
Yeah, exactly.
You're gonna finish it and be done. Yeah.
Be done. But a lot of time it's like, if I walk, I had a hard time going back to track meets because of the identity.
Yeah.
I had a hard time talking to people about the sport. I had a hard time watching the sport. Like when the next Olympic cycle came, I didn't even watch it. And it wasn't that I didn't want to support my former teammates, but it was just like, had I not stopped at that time, I think it would have taken my life. And I wasn't interested in seeing what that was going to be like. So I just needed a little bit of separation.
Yeah, totally. Well, I think it's funny you joke about like the calendars and all of that stuff, but like, I don't think people fully understand the attention to detail and the structure when it comes to training at that level. Like, dude, I remember clocking your splits and like you had to be running exactly like 11.1 meters per second for every like your split. And we're talking about, a whatever 50-meter runway. And it's like, no, you're
Right.
clocking every step, every like if that foot's not in the right spot, if this is like so that attention to detail and structure is not what you experience in high school track. It's not what you experience in college track. When you get to the Olympic level, like we're clocking every single metric and step, and everything has to be precise and perfect. So you only know one thing, and that's laser focus on exactly what you need to do. So tying that into like, shooting a wedding and being like, I'll get this done tonight. You only know finish what the task at hand is
Yeah.
and drive to completion. There is no like, I'll figure out the steps tomorrow. I'll hit 11. I'll hit 11 meters per second next week. It's like no, like we're gonna dial this in till now. So I think there is a lot of correlation there with the way your brain's been wired through athletics to now how you carry that into work.
For sure. One story that I do often tell when I'm on our speaking tour is when you and Coach Pat had that conversation and he was like, you just made him too fast. And
I
like
remember that.
the look on your face was like, when has
Like
that ever
deal
been?
with it.
Yeah.
Like to your point, like everything had to be mathematically sound in order for
Yeah.
things to make sense. Like you would
Yeah.
have that issue in no other sport.
No, I remember that conversation, dude. He's like, he's too fast now. I'm like, figure out the steps then. He's like, but this is calculated. I'm like, move him back a foot. Figure it out, dude. That's not my problem.
No, it was insane,
Yeah.
but like I think that's what it sounds like.
Yeah.
Like, as crazy as that sounded to you, this is what the normal world sounds like to me every day.
Right.
Right.
Like, even with my business partner, like the answer is always going to be yes. Can you do this? Yes, because I have a long enough Rolodex of people that could help out if it is something that I'm not able to do. But like, there wasn't one thing that you or Devin told me or your brother in the weight room or at practice that I was like, no, I can't do that.
Yeah.
Like, I'd rather fail going 100% than fail being like, oh, I didn't have my whole heart in that. Like, I'm not that type of dude.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
It's fascinating too, this, transition. And I'm sure people around you who know that, past life, that past identity, they just see the highlight reel, but they miss the family stuff, the private battles you have. What do people miss when they only see someone's polish and they still continue to see that polished success?
That's a very great question. So the correlation, we hired on this other film guy,
Mm-hmm.
and the only thing he had to do was wake up in the morning and show up to these shoots. He wasn't the one that was up 2 o'clock in the morning brainstorming, storyboarding. His only job was to show up. And once he felt that he understood what he knew what to do, he quit. Fortunately and unfortunately, I think he felt that opportunities literally fall from the sky because that's how they were presented to him.
Yeah.
When it came to the sport aspect, it was probably the loneliest 13 years of my entire life because who could you actually talk to? There were times when Adam was out or Dan was out, and then Devin was like, I just don't feel comfortable because I don't want to get you hurt. But it's like the elephant in the room is like, bro, I need somebody, like
Yeah.
Yeah.
even if it's just somebody to sit down and listen. Like Adam and I would go to lunch and Dan and I would go to lunch and we would just talk and it wouldn't have anything to do with sport because everywhere else around me, people were always trying to give me advice, always trying to help me get to the next level when there was no human connection. Everything in my life, and I've gotten better at it now, but everything in my life has just been this like series of competitions, right? Where,
Yeah.
Yeah.
the world of social media came around, Instagram specifically, and I used to get so jealous and hurt when the NFL season would kick off because they're going to outshine everything that I got going on. And a bunch of these players, like if I were the second or third best receiver or quarterback in the NFL, I would be everywhere. But like me having to go to practice in the morning and then shoot over to practice with Adam and Dan in the afternoon, and then to ask one of those guys to meet me at a track so we can do some promo stuff, like those are the moments that I hold on to right now because it's gotten me all these opportunities where I can, fly across the world and create content and tell a story. And it's like nobody understood. I think it just showed up on Instagram or on YouTube, and it looked really nice. It sounded really good. It was like emotional and all these things. But like, yeah, like those were hours by myself, in an apartment trying to figure out like if this is even going to make sense, who's going to associate. The reality of it is like, everybody, the world stopped when Michael Jordan, dunked the basketball from the foul line. And
Yeah.
people were like, "Oh my gosh, like that's amazing." As a 27-foot long jumper, I realized that's only 15 feet. That's not
Right.
far.
Yeah. 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 Yeah, dude, I jumped double that. Like, who
Yeah,
did it? Yeah.
With a
Yeah.
backpack on, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I kind of wish I didn't know that. Just putting that out there.
right, but like, and you think of like the high jump, right? Where like,
Yeah.
if I told you like the average door is between the height of 6'8" and 6'10", and I'm a 7'5" high jumper, I'm jumping over a volleyball net. And like,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Like, but how do you get the average person that's not in this space to understand?
Yeah.
You can jump over Yao Ming and Shaquille O'Neal, but you can't conceptualize how tall these people are.
Yeah.
So it was really hard, especially like when people were wanting to get information about what it is that I did. Like they'd be like, "Oh, like what sport do you do?" And I'm like, "Track and field." How fast is your mile? The last
Yeah.
time I ran a mile was in elementary school.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I
So
think that's kind of the problem with social media in a lot of ways is it's just highlight after highlight after highlight, right? None of
Yeah.
it is the struggle. None of it is showing behind the scenes. Very few people have real conversations about stuff anymore. Like, dude, I remember when you were getting into your film stuff and we were trying to post some of your tracks. Like, I remember riding my skateboard with the gimbal, posted, filming your content and like helping out however we could. And like, but I think it is so important to put yourself out there and put the behind the scenes in and put like, hey, like you see your buddy getting a promotion at work, like the jealousy doesn't do you anything. Like, look at what are you doing yourself every day to get better? What is happening behind the scenes? What was the struggle like? Like I said, man, I think the most thing I respect the most about track and field that also is the most mind blowing to me outside of the, how far you guys jump, how high you jump, all of that stuff is, dude, you work behind the scenes day in, day out for 5 seconds of a jump, and you get
Yep.
3 tries, and that is it. And it's like if we had that pressure in the corporate world where it's like, yeah, dude, you're going to work for the next 4 years to present this one presentation, and if it flops, you're done. And by the way, we're only taking the top 3 presentations out of 100,000, and it's like
Yep.
nobody understands what that grind is like more than I think high level athletes like you guys. And I think that is something that most people can't comprehend, right? But I think like looking at your athletic career and seeing your journey and looking at kind of the behind the scenes and like I kind of had a behind the door scenes of when that started to pivot and when you started to look at other things. But was there like a clear next step for you, or were you kind of like uncomfortable when that all ended of like, what now? Because I knew you were doing the media stuff for a little while, and it was kind of toying with things, but I think it's a fascinating thought experiment to go behind your head on when you knew your career was wrapping up, kind of what that next journey was.
Yeah. So you remember that knee surgery I got, right?
Mhm. Oh yeah. Yep.
The surgeon said you should be good in 3 months. I think psychologically, I was like, I may never be the same. And I think that scared the hell out of me.
Yeah.
And when I finally got back 9 months later, I jumped at the University of Washington and I had the #1 jump in the world. Then everything started coming back. And I'm like, oh, I'm that dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I get on tour and I remember I got to Greece, Athens, and I was standing on the runway. I was the only American on the field. And I was like, I think I'm going to try feta cheese tonight. And I was like, right there, I was like, damn, it's a wrap.
That's
Yeah.
The
it.
heart
Yeah.
it wasn't in it. And then
Yeah.
I hope my agent doesn't see this, but I got booked for a track meet in Bermuda. Y'all didn't see me in the gym. Coach
Yeah.
didn't see me on the track. At a Mexican restaurant, I got the call and I was like, yeah, I'll be there. Didn't bring my spikes, didn't bring a jersey.
Yeah.
I was like, when am I ever going to go to Bermuda? But I brought
Yeah.
all my camera stuff and I got offered a job that day on the spot by Oakley from the way that I shot the men's long jump. And I think at that point, I just had to come to realization, like, I wasn't thinking about legacy. I wasn't thinking about reputation. I was thinking about, like, what happens next? Like, I'm not
Yeah.
going to have these knees and this lower back forever.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I've already gone through a surgery. Like, I've already had a hurt myself attempt. I've been to every type of therapy and psychologist that you can humanly name. Like, if this isn't a sign from up above being like, dude, there's something else for
Done.
you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, but like Adam, when we were going so hard on that social media stuff, even in 2016, from the first day we got there, from the day that I competed and before the finals, from all the posting that I did with all those brands, I made almost like 90K in
Yeah.
just those 2 days. So I got paid more than first through 10th place over 5 events, and I hadn't even touched the track yet. So in my mind, I'm
Yeah.
like, if I pretend that I'm pissed off, maybe like it will lessen the blow. Like, yeah, I was tapped.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
think about for 13 years, right? Like, if you knew what Monday through Saturday was going to look like, the
Yep.
warm up, the food, the people you're going to interact with, like, you get sick of that.
Yep.
I mean, every second, every part of your day was planned. I remember it. So yeah,
Yeah,
100%.
terrible. And then
Yeah.
you got random drug testing. Like, these people would show up. I was coaching. They would show up at the track and have me pee in a cup. And then, like, I'm getting badgered by the high school being like, are you on drugs? And I'm like, well, I hope not.
Yeah, which is so funny, dude. Because I don't think people realize this about you, but like, you've never drank, never had a sip of alcohol, never did anything. Like, I remember when we were like, I was like, let's go grab beer or something. Let's just go chill. And you're like, nope, never had a sip of alcohol, never. I'm like, oh, that's awesome, dude. And then you, I swear, got drug tests more than anybody. And I'm like, this is like, if you only knew this dude, I'm like, he's never even had a sip of beer in his life. Like, dude's like, yeah.
Like 2 or 3 days a week. And then it'd be like, well, we're going to test your blood. Bro, you're not going to find
gosh.
anything.
Trust me.
Okay.
I remember
Just like-
that.
Yeah. I got drug tested more than any other athlete in my training group. And I'm just sitting here being like, I can tell you who's dirty if you need somebody.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
It was bad. But like, it was like, in your mind, you completely, like, you keep getting drug tested, so it keeps reiterating, like, are you doing something wrong? Like,
Yeah.
so yeah. And like, even in 2011, I was getting prepared for world championships, and I remember with the undisclosed shoe company that I was signed to, they didn't give me a uniform that was in season. Mind you, we lived 3 hours away from the world headquarters, and the world headquarters was 45 minutes away from the actual competition itself. And I get a $7,500 fine the day of my competition for having an out-of-season uniform. And I said, well, I haven't gotten my kit yet. And they were like, why not? And I said, you guys didn't send it to me. And I said, can I walk downstairs and pick up my kit? And they were like, we don't do it like that.
Yeah.
So I call my agent, and he was like, I'll take care of it. But these are the type of games, if they think that you're on trajectory to get a huge payout, they'll play these mind games that will completely throw you off.
That's
And,
crazy.
it happened all the time. So you're like even now, like, it doesn't, the word like, oh, you're not good enough, or the word you can't do this, or this is going to be, those don't have any effect on my
Right.
mind. Like,
Well, I think too, man, the thing that, people can correlate a lot with athletics and with the workforce is like that mundane 9 to 5, right? Like how many people are miserable just going through the motions, showing up every day, punching the clock, doing the same thing, have like because they do the same thing every day, right? It's that old adage, like I've said it a million times, but it's that old, if you always do what you always did, you always get what you always got scenario, right? And I think like you feel that burnout as an athlete because you got tired of doing the same thing day in, day out for 13 years. People do that for 20 years, for 25 years in the workforce. And they're like, I need something different. I need that motivation. And that's where I think like hearing stories like yours and be like, well, shit, if this happens to the highest level athlete in the world, like it's normal for it to happen to me too, right? Like, how do I change my situation? How do I change what I'm going through? How do I make it to where I feel more comfortable at work? Or maybe I need to change. Maybe I need to do something different. Because I think that translates across the board to everybody, right?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think that people, in my experience, I think that a lot of people like not having the responsibility of themselves or others.
Yeah.
So it's easier for them to work for someone else because that someone else
Right.
takes all the risk.
Yep.
They
But-
don't have to be accountable,
Yeah.
right? They could just,
Oh,
yeah.
They just
And-
show up.
that's it. And
Yep.
what I've noticed in the past is it is so easy for a person to learn how to cut corners and cheat the system and how much work they put into figuring out how to do that when they could have just done the job and been completely done.
So true. It's so true.
Yes.
Yep.
Yep.
Well, we
Yeah.
see that like not to go off tangent here, but they do like, what do you think the world of AI is going to be? Like that's everybody just cutting corners. You throw it in ChatGPT, it gives you an answer, you go get them done. Throw it in, next thing, like there's no quality to work anymore. And I think that's where it's going to be a real separator next 5 to 10 years. And I think it'll be interesting crossover with your creativity stuff, and you're going to see it in social media and all your marketing you do, all the AI slop that's happening everywhere. It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out over the next 5 years, because I think people will take more shortcuts than ever, and what will differentiate will be interesting.
For sure. Yeah, and plus, like, especially when you're typing this stuff into chat and you're using all these prompts, you've used so many different prompts that when you actually are faced with the client, you forgot all of what you've spoken about and all what you've
And
promised.
you didn't learn anything. Yeah, exactly. Retention is going to be a problem. All right, let's do this. Let's do this, dude. Let's do a quick lightning round. So we do this at the end of the pod. It's give me like a word or a sentence for each one of these things. So let's start off with one word that describes your transition after sports.
Glimpse.
All right.
That's an interesting one. Wasn't expecting that.
What's the goes? Yeah. What's the hardest part of entrepreneurship?
People.
Yeah, dude.
That's
so
the
true.
hardest part of anything.
Yeah.
We joke, man, but Devin and I have a lot of laughs about that because our whole career's been the people business, and that's the one thing you can't control is people, for sure.
I mean, they're the best and the worst at the same exact time.
Exactly. One thing athletes struggle to admit when competition ends.
Depression.
Yeah, that's a real one. What's the best environment for you for creativity?
Support.
Love it. One habit you still carry from training.
No alarm clock.
Oh, what?
You were gonna go like discipline. I thought you were gonna go like
When do you wake up normally? Like
5:30 every morning, Monday through
Same.
Sunday.
I'm the same
No
way,
alarm
dude.
clock. Yep.
It's hilarious. That just means we're getting old, dude. Because I know like I can't sleep, and if I want to, I just associate that with I'm just getting too old, man.
Yeah, I would have said like disciplined, motivated, but like those
No,
were
yeah,
well before all that.
I feel you. All right, one more. What's one thing you're building towards right now, man?
Happiness.
Love that.
Oh, I love that.
Love it.
Love it. All right, I'm going to close this out with our final question, which is going to be hard, I think, maybe, because you've shared so much. Thank you for your story. But what's one thing about you that's essential to who you are, but will not show up on your resume?
caring.
Yeah, I could attest to that. That's a good one for you, dude. That's a real good one. All right, buddy. Well, we could go on your story forever, man. So we'll have to do this again because we didn't even touch on what made you who you are and your upbringing and all that stuff. But I'd encourage people to watch some of your talks. I've been fortunate enough to be there for a few of them. Your story's fascinating, man, and I think this is a unusual podcast for us because we usually have a lot of corporate executives on here. We've got a lot of that, but like I think there's so much the corporate world could take from athletics and sports, and there's so many parallels that I think it's a really fascinating conversation for a lot of people to hear.
I agree.
So awesome. All right, dude, we'll wrap it up with this one, and we'll make sure to get you back on again because we gotta, like I said, the hardest part of this whole podcast is keeping it to 30 minutes.
Right.
Well, we didn't keep it to 30.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we're close.
Close enough.
Yeah, we're close. All right.
Thank
Till
you,
the next one.
Norris.
Yeah,
Thank
thanks
you.
everyone. Cheers.